Alright, as you can see, we got a lot to do. So, today we are going to make lamb meatball subs. Yes, I said we were going to try and do a little bit more lamb, so guess what? Lamb meatball subs, we got a lot, let's get started. So the first thing we need to start with is the meatballs. Why? Because they're going to take the longest. So, for this, now this is going to be a doubled recipe, so I'm using 2 pounds of ground lamb for this, but I will put the full recipe in the description below. So, for this, we're going to put our lamb in our bowl. Okay, next, before we add our seasonings, if you don't have breadcrumbs, or you don't want to use breadcrumbs, and you don't have flour, or you don't want to use flour, you can use a little bit of leftover rice. This is going to be kind of a Mediterranean-ish dish. Obviously, it's going to be a sub, but the idea is still there. And a lot of these dishes use rice as a binder. So if you have it, use it, but make sure that it's cooked and left over. So we are going to use a 1/4 cup of cooked leftover white rice. You need 2 eggs. Okay, then we're going to add our seasonings. I'm going to add a teaspoon of cumin, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, a teaspoon of smoked paprika, a 1/2 teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes, 2 teaspoons of oregano, 2 teaspoons of black pepper, a tablespoon of salt, and a teaspoon of chili powder. And we mix. Okay, and then I have a foil-lined sheet tray, and we're going to form these in about 2-ounce meatballs. Okay, and then you should get about 18 to 20 meatballs out of this. Well, using 2 pounds, that is. But we're going to throw these in the oven for at least 20, possibly 30 minutes at 425, basically until they're about 160, 165 internally. So I'm sure that number will change, but I'll tell you at the end. How's that? All right? All right, so while those are in the oven, let's start next on our onion jam. So again, doing a double batch, but I have 2 medium-sized red onions that we are going to small dice. And obviously peel and all that, but yeah, small dice. All right, over to the sauce pot. All right, so added it to my sauce pot. So now we're gonna turn our heat on medium. And to this, we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of light brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, a tablespoon of red wine vinegar, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And then lastly, a tablespoon of salt. And then give that a good mix. And then we're just gonna let this go and let it sit, and then kind of stir it occasionally. But we want this should reduce by almost half. So let it go. Should be done about the same time that the meatballs are done, and just let it do its thing. If it starts going too quickly, turn your heat down just a little bit, and like I said, just let it naturally caramelize. So we're gonna let this go, and while we do that, we're gonna make our last thing. We're gonna make our pesto. So I just gotta say, side note, this house smells amazing. Like, if this sandwich sucks, I'm gonna cry. So, pesto time. So I have 3 whole cloves of peeled garlic, and then we're gonna add about 2 cups of basil leaves, and I'm gonna take the big stems off at least. Like this guy, don't leave him in there. Okay, then a 1/2 cup of olive oil, a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. Okay, then 2 teaspoons of black pepper. Okay, then a teaspoon of black pepper, a teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes, and 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. Okay, screw this guy on. And we blend. All right, here's our pesto. Our meatballs are just about done. Our onion jam's looking pretty solid. Let's get ready to assemble the sandwich. All right, meatballs are done. These look really good, and they smell good. Ended up being about 25 minutes. So, yes, 20 to 25 minutes, 425, bam. All right, onion jam is set. Meatballs are done. Here's our onion jam. See, you're basically cooking it until almost all of that moisture is just gone. And see how it literally, like, reduced by half. So, let's assemble. All right, the first thing I want to do is spread some of my pesto on my sub roll. Okay, then we're gonna add a couple of our meatballs. All right, and then some of our onion jam. I'm gonna throw just a little bit more pesto on top of my meatballs because I'm weird that way. Okay. And then some mozzarella cheese. All right, then we're gonna throw this on the broiler and let the cheese melt. All right, so broiled and plated. Let's eat. All right. I am going to cut this in half. Oh yeah, look at that. Cheers. Yes. I have so many life questions right now. This is insane. And I've never done this before. I just want to make that clear. I don't think I've ever made lamb meatballs. I've never made a lamb meatball sub for that matter. This is fantastic. There is just the right amount of spice to the lamb that really kind of gives it a little bit of heat, but not a lot. But it's enough to cut through the pesto, because that pesto adds a lot more fat to an already fatty meat. Granted, it's a lean meat, but it's still got some good fat to it. And then the sweetness from the onions, and then the cheese just ties it all together. And the bun holds up really well. Oh my gosh. Why have I not done this before? Why? Why have I not done this? And the meatballs are tender. Wow. Every time you get a bite of the onions, it makes the sandwich that much better. It's that sugar and the sweetness, and it works. Like I said, it helps cut through the fattiness of the pesto, and then it helps cut through the basically fattiness and even the heat of the meatball. This is definitely a lot to process. Wow. Wow. So, there you have it, a lamb meatball sub. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, and you're new, make sure you hit that sub button, throw a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and as always, peace out, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye! Wow, that was... There's a lot of decisions going on right now, on whether or not to eat another one. I might just have to.